I always knew Patricia Anderson was living a double life. I just never expected to catch her in the act on our company's security cameras. For 10 years, I built Anderson Family Jewelers from a small local shop into a thriving business with 3 locations across the city. My husband David's family had owned the original store for generations, but it was my modern marketing strategies and business degree that transformed it into a real success. Patricia never let me forget I was an outsider. The Anderson name means something in this city. She'd remind me constantly, despite the fact that I'd married into that precious name and doubled their profits in the process. Everything changed 3 months ago when I noticed discrepancies in our books. Small at first, a few thousand here, a missing deposit there, but they added up quickly. By the time I started digging deeper, $250,000 had vanished from our accounts. "You must be mistaken," David said when I first brought it up. "Mom's handled the books for decades. She wouldn't?" But I knew better. I'd seen how Patricia's designer clothes got more expensive lately, how she'd started wearing new jewelry that didn't come from our store, little things that didn't add up for someone on a store manager's salary. So I installed new security cameras, not just in the showroom, but in the back office, and I waited. It didn't take long. "Everyone please sit down," Patricia commanded, standing at the head of our conference table. She called this emergency family meeting on a Sunday morning, insisting it couldn't wait. David's sister Emma was there with her husband, his brother Mark had called in on video chat, and even David's father George had come out of retirement for this. "I've discovered something disturbing about our finances," Patricia continued, shooting me a look of practiced concern. "The business is in serious trouble." I felt David stiffen beside me. We've been having the best quarter in our history, or we would have been if money wasn't mysteriously disappearing. "What kind of trouble, Mom?" Emma leaned forward, worried. Patricia pulled out a folder, her manicured nails gleaming under the fluorescent lights. "Large sums of money have been mismanaged. Investments made without proper documentation. Inventory that doesn't match our sales records." My hands clenched under the table. She was really going to do this. I hate to say this, Patricia's voice dripped with fake sympathy, but ever since Sarah took over the financial planning. "That's enough," I spoke quietly but firmly, pulling out my laptop. "Before you continue, Patricia, I think we should review some security footage." She froze. "Security footage?" "Yes. From our new camera system. The one I had installed last month after noticing some irregularities in our accounts." Patricia's perfectly composed face flickered for just a moment. "I don't see how that's relevant, To." "It's very relevant." I connected my laptop to the conference room's TV, especially the footage from last Tuesday night, around 2 a.m. The color drained from Patricia's face. The video quality was crystal clear, one of the benefits of investing in top-of-the-line security equipment. There was Patricia entering the store after hours. She moved with the confidence of someone who thought she was unobserved, heading straight to the office safe. "Turn that off," she demanded, but no one moved. On screen, Patricia efficiently emptied the day's deposits into her designer handbag. Then she did something unexpected. She went to the display cases and began selecting pieces of jewelry. "Mom?" David's voice was barely a whisper. "What are you doing?" "Keep watching," I said softly. "It gets more interesting." The timestamp showed 2:37 a.m. when Patricia's phone lit up her face. She answered it with a smile we'd never seen before, something secret and pleased. After a brief conversation, she left the store with both money and jewelry in her bag. "There's more," I said, switching to footage from the security camera I'd installed across the street. It showed Patricia getting into a car we didn't recognize, a sleek black Mercedes with a driver waiting. "Who is that?" Emma asked, leaning closer to the screen. "That's what I wondered," I replied, pulling up another video. So I followed the car. The Mercedes led to the Harbor View Hotel, the most expensive hotel in the city. Patricia emerged from the car looking younger somehow, more alive. She was greeted at the entrance by a man none of us recognized. Tall, distinguished, dressed in an expensive suit. "His name is Richard Montgomery," I said into the stunned silence. "He's a real estate developer from Chicago, and according to my investigation, he's also married with 3 children." "Patricia?" George spoke for the first time, his voice heavy with disbelief. "What have you done?" But Patricia was already gathering her things, her hands shaking. This is ridiculous. I don't have to sit here and watch this invasion of privacy. Actually, you do. I pulled out another folder. Because this isn't just about your affair, Patricia. It's about the $250,000 you've stolen from our business over the past 3 months. Money that, coincidentally, matches the down payment amount on a new condo in Chicago, under the name Patricia Montgomery. The conference room erupted into chaos. Emma was crying, Mark was demanding answers through the video chat, and George just sat there, looking 20 years older than he had 10 minutes ago. David stood up slowly, his face a mask of betrayal. Mom, tell me this isn't true. Patricia's mask finally cracked. You don't understand. Richard loves me. He's going to leave his wife. We're going to start a new life. With our money? I interrupted. With the legacy your husband spent 40 years building. You shut up. Patricia whirled on me. You're not even a real Anderson. You're just some scholarship girl who got lucky with my son. No, Patricia, I said calmly, pulling out one final document. I'm the person who built this business into what it is today, and I'm the person who's turning all of this evidence over to the police tomorrow morning. The word police seemed to hit her like a physical blow. She stumbled back, grabbing her purse. David, darling, you can't let her do this. I'm your mother. But David wasn't looking at her anymore. He was staring at the TV screen, where his mother was still frozen in mid-embrace with her secret lover. Our family's money in her designer bag. Get out, he said quietly. Get out before I call the police myself. Patricia ran from the room, her heels clicking on the marble floors of the business she just destroyed. But this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of uncovering exactly how deep her deception went. The next 48 hours felt like living in a tornado. After Patricia fled the conference room, David and I spent hours combing through years of financial records. What we found made the $250,000 look like pocket change. She's been doing this for years, I said, staring at spreadsheets until my eyes burned. Small amounts at first, probably testing to see if anyone would notice. But in the last year alone, how much? David's voice was hollow. He hadn't slept since the revelation. Close to $800,000 total. I showed him the highlighted transactions. She was clever about it. Never taking enough at once to raise red flags. Using the store's reputation to open lines of credit. She even sold fake versions of our custom pieces. Fake versions? I pulled up photos on my laptop. Remember that Sapphire set the Hendersons commission last year? Patricia sold them the original. Then she had copies made and sold those too. 3 times. David put his head in his hands. Those people trusted us. Trusted her. The police arrived Monday morning. They were particularly interested in the counterfeit jewelry operation. Apparently, Patricia's boyfriend Richard wasn't just a real estate developer. He had connections to a sophisticated counterfeiting ring operating across 3 states. Mrs. Anderson, Detective Rivers consulted his notes. Did you ever meet any of your mother-in-law's associates at charity functions, particularly anyone who dealt in estate jewelry? I thought back to all the society events Patricia had insisted we attend. There was one woman, Caroline something. She always wanted to discuss our vintage pieces. Caroline Blackwood. The detective showed me a photo. That's her. She's Richard Montgomery's sister, and a known fence for stolen jewelry. The pieces were falling into place. Patricia hadn't just been stealing from us. She'd been using our legitimate business as a front for a larger criminal enterprise. Every society connection, every charity board she sat on, they were all networking opportunities for her other life. Emma called around noon, her voice shaking. Sarah? The country club just called. Mom's been charging thousands to our family account. Clothing, spa treatments, private dining rooms. For her meetings with Richard and jewelry buyers, the club manager said she'd host these exclusive private showings in the members' lounge. Oh God, she was selling fake pieces right there at our club. The scandal exploded across our social circle like wildfire. Patricia's carefully cultivated image as the respectable business owner's wife crumbled as more victims came forward. The Hendersons weren't the only ones who'd bought duplicate pieces. Patricia had been running this scam on multiple wealthy clients, all while maintaining her facade of old money respectability. Around 3 o'clock, George called. I've been going through our personal accounts, he said, sounding aged beyond his years. The beach house in Florida? She remortgaged it last year. Took out $400,000. The papers have her forging my signature. Dad, David started. There's more. Your mother's been emptying our retirement accounts. Everything we saved. It's gone to this other life she's been living. I felt sick. Patricia hadn't just betrayed the business. She'd stolen her own husband's future. Then came the text message from an unknown number. You think you're so clever, Sarah. But you have no idea what you've done. Richard and I will be long gone before the police figure it all out. Enjoy trying to save the business's reputation after this scandal. Nobody will trust the Anderson name again. I showed the message to Detective Rivers. He smiled grimly. Actually, Mrs. Anderson, we've already frozen all known accounts connected to both Patricia and Richard Montgomery, including that condo in Chicago. She won't get away with this. I needed to hear it. Their entire network is under surveillance, has been for months. Your evidence was the final piece we needed. Mrs. Anderson Sr. wasn't just stealing from her family. She was part of a multi-million-dollar jewelry counterfeiting operation. The FBI is involved now. David sat down heavily. The FBI, my mother's going to prison. I took his hand. She made her choices, David. None of this is your fault. That evening, as we were closing the store, Emma rushed in waving her phone. You need to see this. Mom just went live on Instagram. Patricia's face filled the screen, carefully made up despite her obvious distress. My darling friends and family, she began, her voice trembling artfully. I need to tell you my side of the story. Yes, I made some mistakes. But I was trapped in a loveless marriage, suffocating under the weight of family expectations. Richard showed me what real love could be. Turn it off, David said quietly. But Patricia's performance wasn't finished, and Sarah, she continued, her voice hardening, my dear daughter-in-law who thinks she knows everything about running a business. Let me tell you something about the Anderson legacy. I protected it for 30 years. I made the connections, maintained our social standing. You're just an accountant who got lucky, and now you've destroyed everything I built. Emma shut off the video. There are hundreds of comments. People are already taking sides. I looked around the showroom, at the cases of genuine jewelry we'd sold honestly for generations, at the family photos on the walls, at my husband's devastated face. No, I said firmly. She doesn't get to rewrite this story. Tomorrow morning, we're holding a press conference. We're going to tell our clients exactly what happened, make it right with anyone who bought counterfeit pieces, and rebuild this business the right way. The Anderson name will be ruined, Emma whispered. The Anderson name stands for more than Patricia's crimes, I replied. It stands for 3 generations of honest business before she tainted it, and it will stand for how we make this right. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Patricia's number. You'll regret this. Richard has friends you don't want to meet. But she didn't know what I knew. That while she was making threats, the FBI was closing in on her location. That her precious Richard had already cut a deal to testify against her. That her carefully constructed double life was about to come crashing down. The FBI caught up with Patricia at a private airstrip just outside the city. Her precious Richard had already given up their escape plan in exchange for a lighter sentence. In the end, her double life collapsed as quickly as a house of cards in a storm. We found her trying to board a private plane to the Cayman Islands. Detective Rivers informed us. She had 3 suitcases full of jewelry, both real and counterfeit pieces, and nearly $100,000 in cash. The real jewelry, David asked quietly, was it from our store? The detective nodded. We'll need you to come identify the pieces. Some appear to be Anderson family heirlooms. That hit George hardest of all. Among the stolen items was his grandmother's sapphire necklace, a piece Patricia had claimed was lost years ago. She'd been systematically looting not just the business, but the family's heritage. The press conference was brutal but necessary. We stood together, David, Emma, George, and I, facing a room full of reporters and angry clients. Anderson Family Jewelers has been a part of this community for 3 generations, I began. The actions of one person do not define us. To every client who purchased jewelry from us, we make this promise. Bring your pieces in for authentication. If you received a counterfeit item, we will replace it with a genuine piece at no cost. How can we trust anything from Anderson Jewelers now? Someone shouted. Because we're putting everything on the table, I replied. full transparency, new certification processes. And most importantly, we're making this right, even if it means rebuilding from scratch. The headlines the next day were surprisingly supportive. Family jeweler uncovers international counterfeit ring, and Anderson hears wife stays legacy business from criminal enterprise. Patricia's arrest made national news. The footage of her being led away in handcuffs, still wearing her designer clothes and signature pearls, went viral. Her carefully crafted society image shattered completely when the FBI revealed the full scope of her crimes. It wasn't just jewelry, Detective Rivers explained during a follow-up meeting. Your mother-in-law was laundering money through multiple legitimate businesses. The country club events, the charity boards, they were all networking opportunities for her criminal activities. Richard Montgomery turned out to be small fish compared to the people Patricia had really been working with. Her connections reach into a world of high-end art theft, international money laundering, and sophisticated counterfeiting operations. She's looking at 15 to 20 years, the detective concluded. Mr. Montgomery's testimony alone. I want to see her, David interrupted. We all turned to look at him. It was the first time he'd spoken about his mother in days. The prison meeting room was cold and sterile, nothing like the luxury Patricia had surrounded herself with for so long. She sat there in her orange jumpsuit, somehow still managing to look imperious. Darling, she began, reaching for David's hand across the table. He pulled back. Why, Mom? We had everything, family, respect, a legitimate business. Why throw it all away? You don't understand, she hissed, her facade cracking. I was meant for more than being some small-town jeweler's wife. Richard showed me a bigger world. Richard? I cut in. The same Richard who sold you out to the FBI in under an hour. Her face contorted. This is all your fault. If you hadn't installed those cameras. If you hadn't stolen from your own family, I corrected quietly. Family? She laughed bitterly. You want to talk about family? I built the Anderson name in this city. I made us matter. No, Mom, David stood up. You destroyed everything Grandpa and Dad built. But we're going to rebuild it without you. We left her there, still ranting about Richard and her stolen dreams of grandeur. Outside the prison, David took a deep breath of free air. You okay? I asked softly. He managed a small smile. Getting there. The store's appointment book is full next week. Seems like our transparency policy is working. He was right. Something unexpected had happened in the wake of the scandal. Our honest handling of the situation had earned us a new kind of respect. Clients appreciated our commitment to making things right. 6 months later, we held a grand reopening. The store had been renovated, security upgraded, and every piece of jewelry came with ironclad authentication. George even brought out vintage photos of the original Anderson jewelers for display. Look at this. Emma pointed to a faded picture of their grandfather standing proudly in front of the first store. This is our real legacy, not Mom's schemes. As clients filled the showroom, I overheard one elderly woman telling her friend, I've been coming here for 40 years. What happened was terrible. But seeing how they handled it. That's the Anderson family I've always known. David squeezed my hand. Thank you, he whispered, for saving our family's name. Our family, I corrected him. After all, I am an Anderson now. We'd lost money, trust, and innocence in Patricia's scheme. But we gained something too. A stronger foundation, built on truth rather than appearances. Sometimes it takes a complete breakdown to build something better. The last we heard, Patricia was organizing a prison fashion show. Some habits die hard. But her days of using the Anderson name for crime were over. Our legacy would be one of honesty, resilience, and redemption. A true family business built to last.